Hi, and welcome to the Profit Playbook, the podcast all about helping SMEs improve their bottom line. I'm Scott, and today we're talking about branding and brand strategy. Now, as accountants, we know that having a strong brand can help increase prices and help you stand out as the only in your sector. Joining me today is branding expert Matthew Barroccu of New Realm Creative, who's going to help us sort of navigate this tricky area. Hi, Matt, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Scott.
Good to have you. Now, I know we've worked together on a few projects in the past, but for the viewers who don't know you, would you mind just explaining a bit more about you and New Realm Creative?
Sure. And thanks again for having me on. I mean, we've chatted back and forth a lot in the past about business and brand and strategy. So I'd heard about the Profit Playbook, so it was a chance to come on. But New Realm, I'm Matthew. I'm the director of New Realm Creative. We're a brand strategy and design agency. We've been actually just had our 12th birthday last week. Yeah, so it's gone fast. But in that time, we've actually worked with such a range of small to medium-sized businesses, anything from fine jewelry to people who sell anchors, professional services from accountants, solicitors, insurance companies, estate agents. Wow. It's to barbershops and hairdressers and things like that. So we really have worked with quite a lot of companies. I think one of the reasons we've been successful is partly due to our approach and ethos. We sort of talk about it encapsulated as go further. And that's all about giving small businesses big brand impact and big brand ideas that they can use to stand out in their local marketplace.
Yeah, awesome. And I can absolutely vouch for the fact that that's exactly what you do.
No, that's great.
Now, I know clients find this concept quite difficult as a brand, and they probably know their knowledge of what a brand is probably quite basic. But when you ask them what that question is, they probably can't explain or define it. So would you mind just helping the viewers understand exactly what the definition of a brand is?
Yeah, sure. In fact, it's a really good place to start because it is one of the areas which is very confusing. Why is it confusing? Well, I think it's because, let's start with the word brand. Often to do brand, you do branding, but in the industry, those can be slightly different things. Also, because it encapsulates so much, including tangible and non-tangible things, that it can be hard to define in one sentence. And in fact, I was looking the other day at a number of different definitions of brand, and there were about 8 that and this is one of the things that's important, is they were all right. You know, it was one of those things where more than one thing can be true at once, and they all came from it from a slightly different perspective, but they were all actually, you couldn't really argue that they were wrong. No, so I think then we will give it a definition, but I think it's more important about understanding what it can do for you and what it can do for your customers, importantly, than worrying about a kind of a fancy sentence. Yeah, okay. So for me, the thing that helped me understand it and get it right in my head back when, a long time when I got into this was, first of all, it's perceiving the brand as almost an entity. And within this entity is the recipe for how you grow and communicate your specific value. So that, again, can be a little abstract. So the way I break it down for clients is, and this is important as well, a lot of people think that brand is your logo. So the logo is one of the most recognizable parts of the brand, but it's not brand in itself. But in terms of what is your brand is made up of your brand mark, which is your logo, plus the products it's associated with. Yeah. And this is the important bit, the values and associations that you have and that people have for your company, for your brand. The values and associations are really the most important bits, because those are the bits that help you go beyond just the functional elements of your company. You want people to emotionally connect with that, and that's where the premium comes in. So that's effectively what how we'd break that down is the brand mark, the product, plus the values, and associations.
Yeah, interesting. So almost like the image and then just the communication, the message behind the image in some respects, is it?
Yes, yeah, because that's what, you ultimately you are selling a overall value and solution to people, which includes things that make them feel a certain way, as well as solving a practical problem in many cases.
Yeah, that's really interesting. But people talk about branding, and a small business owner trying to develop a brand, for instance, has minimal budget to work on. Wouldn't branding and branding projects be probably just for big companies?
No, I think. I understand why people perceive that, because those big companies have more money to spend on more branding, the physical, the visual aspect of what the brand, communicates. So when you think of Coca-Cola and Nike, because they're huge, global companies, they've just got more money to put that out there. But actually, I think it's super vital for small businesses, because again, the important bit is being able to go further, go beyond just the functional benefits. It's really important for small businesses not to be commoditized. So you could be doing a really good job in your local market, but if a chain moves in and they've got more money to promote, some more branding, they've got they can maybe do it at economies of scale, they could do it cheaper. That small company, unless it's got a really strong brand, can be blown out the market. But you don't necessarily have to have huge budgets. You don't necessarily have to spend loads on branding to have a good brand, because again, if we remember, the brand is the values that people buy into and the positive associations that they get from experiencing the brand, and those don't necessarily have to cost lots of money. It's more about the way you use your brand strategy to approach it.
That's a great sort of summary of just what a brand is necessarily, but from a functional perspective, what does a brand do?
Yeah, which is again what most people are most interested in. So your brand, like I said, one of the things that it's most important is that it can help you transcend just the functional benefits, so that people can connect and people, it doesn't get commoditized. We mentioned that. But I think with the brand as well, it should help you differentiate, help you stand out, help foster sales. So increase, we want it to increase sales. And the other thing that you've mentioned already that's really important is charge a premium. So people, again, because it's gone beyond the functional benefits, are paying for more than just what it is, which we all know. When people say you pay for the name, you're paying for the brand, you're going beyond. If it was a shirt with a certain brand mark, it's not just about the cotton and the cloth, it's about the brand. So it's about going beyond that, so you can and being able to charge a premium as well.
So Matt, how would a client go about trying to put a strategy together if they were thinking about branding?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's really important. To understand what it is one thing, but to put it into action is most important. And strategy is all about choice, right? It's about the specific things you're going to choose to win in your marketplace. And strategy for me is really about, it's like the how you're going to do it. Because I think, again, people get confused with, is it a goal? You hear about, you think something is a strategy, but it's like it looks like a goal, or it's a performance target, which isn't really a strategy. So strategy really is the how. Now, for me, again, the way I found it easier both to understand and to implement, it was to look at it as almost a strategic package. So that includes having a good diagnosis and understanding of the challenge that you're trying to overcome in your marketplace. Having a kind of a guiding principle, a guiding approach of how you're going to do it. And then you have your actions, the specific things that are achievable for you to actually make that work. But I think often people get the actions and things confused as the strategy. So the way I look at it is strategy is the how you're going to do it, and then it's that overall kind of approach. Again, rather than trying to, I know people, especially leaders, want to say this is our strategy, and they want to be able to articulate in a catchy way. But sometimes that's a lot of fluff. So when you look at it as a more like a strategic package, it's a bit more useful to actually being able to do it. In terms of brand strategy, often the way we approach it is through quite a common concept called the only. which is where you look to be perceived as the only brand in your space that delivers your product or service in a certain way to certain people, even though you might be selling something that's, the product fundamentally is the same, its functional benefits are the same. You've created that perception that you're the only one that sells it to a certain person for a certain need.
That's a great explanation, Matt. But for the viewers, just to try and break this down even further, how would you go about trying to develop a brand strategy for your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, it's how do you implement these big ideas? Yeah. So it depends on which client and what kind of position they're in, what stage they're in, what challenge they have as to what tools or what approach we might follow. But one I wanted to share with you, because I think it's one that is a really fun one and a popular one that we work with, is it's a 5-point approach.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it covers quite a lot of things, again, to give you that strategy which helps you be the only, helps you stand out. So there's 5 points. The first one is spirit. The second one is focus. Then we have differentiation or different, which is, again, really important to this whole thing. We then have trend, and finally we have action. So those are the 5 ones. Okay. So let's start with spirit, which again sounds a little bit religious. It's but it's just something it's the way I articulated it, because one of the important questions, and this was something that a business guru really famous business guru from way back asked the question, is what business are you really in? So it was Theodore Levitt that asked this question, right? And it's a great question,
it is, yeah.
But not necessarily easy to answer. If you can answer it, you're already on a great foundation for a strong brand. So it's sort of, when you're looking at it, it's, what is the kind of core spirit of the company? What are we fundamentally about? And there's been quite, a trend lately of purpose-driven brands, and it does kind of fall within the kind of area of, your purpose, the reason, you get out of bed in the morning. Yeah. What are you fundamentally about? And this goes kind of, it's like that bit where you transcend. It goes beyond the functional things. It goes beyond, goals and making money. It's like, what are you about as a business? And again, it can be quite hard to identify, but what you want to do is understand that and help answer that question. What are we really about as a business? So if you think, examples are quite good to bring this to life for people. So if we take Green & Co, you're all about helping business people achieve their goals, and life, give them a better life, achieve their life goals. Someone like Disney, which is a very famous, obviously, it's a household name. They're all about magical family moments, and I'd probably say it's timeless storytelling, or they have been about that. So a company I work with, a jewellery company called Diamond Centre Wales, they're all about freedom of expression, because they make bespoke jewellery. It doesn't matter who you are or what the occasion, you're at the centre. It's all about helping you express your individuality. That's what they're about. Now, the powerful thing about this is, one, this is like the well you go to make sure that, to help with brand consistency, because that's something that can, especially if a company grows, everything kind of contrives against that core original idea of what you were about. So, and really what helps, obviously, if you can understand it. So yeah, by understanding it, you can really get that consistency through. But it helps you expand out into other areas in an authentic way. So the classic example of Apple, they were able to go into all these different areas, from being a computer to going into, music, phones, whatever, the cloud. But everyone was quite happy to continue to go to those different areas with them, because everyone bought into the kind of spirit of what Apple was about, which was about thinking different and challenging the status quo. It's a very famous example, but it's a good one, because it really shows how once you've got that core understanding of who you're about, and it should only be kind of like a few words, it doesn't have to be, again, I think one thing I hate is when people spend too much time worrying about encapsulating something in a sentence, because sometimes it can be so difficult to actually do it that you have to lose something and it becomes woolly. But by understanding it just really fundamentally, you should be able to encapsulate it in a few words, like helping people achieve their goals, like, magical moments. This is what we're all about. Then you again can take that into other areas while still staying true to yourself, which is one of the things that's very important to a brand. To identify it, it really is at the intersection of what you're passionate about and what you're good at. Because you obviously, if you're you can be passionate about something, but if you're rubbish at it, you don't have the capabilities, it's probably not true to the core. So that's where you can start to find the spirit, is at that intersection.
Yeah, Matt, there's a lot in that, very high level sort of thinking, and from a strategy level, even from a business strategy perspective, there's a lot of similarity and crossover there. So it's a really good exercise for viewers to do, no matter what. You mentioned there was other steps. What's the next step?
Sure. So with Spirit, we're going from something that is fundamental, but it's also broad, so you can use it as that big thinking. So now it's time to kind of drill down to something specific with the second step, which is focus. So this is all about being understanding what do you do best and where. It's what are you really good at, and it's really important to be clear and specific on this. Now, it's like anything else. If you why this is good, if you can focus on something, then you can put more resources into it, so you can be better, you can deliver a better product or a service, you can be stronger in that area because you're focusing on it. Also, by focusing on it, so we deliver this product in this way for this group of people, you almost starting to differentiate yourself as well. You're almost starting to, you can be known to be not just the accountants that do taxation and stuff, and you're also known as the accountants that actually make the difference in helping you achieve your life goals. So by focusing on those things, you're already starting to get expertise and lead, but it is helping you stand out. So a good example, one I love because I like burgers, is Five Guys.
Okay.
So when all these big companies, they all started small at some point. When you perceive them now, you mentioned big brands, Coca-Cola's nearly 100 years old, but someone like Five Guys started not that long ago, 90s probably. They started in one restaurant, but they only focused on burger and fries, getting the best burger and fries. And I think even today they do hot dogs, but really that's it. There's just isn't like a huge menu like you see in McDonald's. So one of the things that's interesting about Five Guys as well, I don't know if you know, that they don't deliver. You have to go to the restaurant.
Yeah.
And to the point that the White House and Barack Obama, they were having a meeting. They wanted some food, so they called Five Guys, asked them if they could deliver to the White House, and Five Guys went, "No,
really,
we don't deliver." And so Barack Obama actually then went to Five Guys. If you look on the internet, there's lots of photos of him rocking up with his security because he had to order. So that was some nice PR.
Stay true to your brand there.
Yeah, stay true to your brand, and they got some nice PR out of it as well, I would say. So I guess the question then is, how do you focus? What do you choose? So the first tip that I would say is that they should speak to somebody like yourself, like an accountant who can help them identify, if they can't, that can help them identify the most profitable income streams. And I know that's a lot of the work you do with clients in terms of achieving their goals. We help them in perhaps simple ways as well, where something like what we call the opportunity score, where you take if you're looking at your portfolio or the services you provide or the products you deliver, looking at, which ones are more successful and what effort does it take to deliver that. Now you score the first, and then you take away the score of the second, and the score at the end is your opportunity score. So the higher the score, the better, the least resistance there is in terms of the market. And then what you can do then is, if clients Google something like the Boston Matrix, you can then look at that on a very simple model where you can look at what are the products that are cash cows, what are the products that, they're doing really well, but they are a lot of effort. What do we need to tweak that and see if we can do it? What are the ones that are rubbish, that, just a lot of effort and they're just not making us any money. And what I found is that a lot of companies that actually still stick with things that, aren't very popular, and if they do come in, add a lot of effort, and I'm just like, so, again, it's about focusing your efforts in the right area.
Yeah, there's a lot of synergy again then with business, not just from a branding perspective. So this is why having you come onto the show today and talk about this is really good, because it links a lot with business strategy. So all the work that you would do with a client to understand their brand, they could actually start utilizing this in their business to help their bottom line. We can cover that on another video, obviously.
I think we should.
Yeah, definitely. But talking about income streams and trying to find the most profitable products and service lines in their business as well. So I can see that this is going to be a really good exercise for clients and viewers as well to really engage on.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So that was an overview of the focus element of your plan. That's fair to say that's probably helping you to develop a niche more than anything, really. But how do you then do it differently?
Exactly, because even if you focus and are looking at a niche market, there still could be other people in that niche as well. So yeah, this is all about how you can be the only, how you can stand out and be different. So this point, different is one of the key things. Now, I think it's fair to say that it's hard to be truly unique or different. There are, if you really look at it, there are very few companies that are completely unique. A lot of it is perception, and that's one of the things that's really important. So the place that I think sometimes is good to start, there's a concept I got from film and novels, where it's a technique authors use called the lie they believe.
Okay.
So if you think in films, there's always a lie the main character believes at the start of the film, that through the film they realize that it's not the truth and they change.
Yeah.
So for example, in Frozen, Elsa believed that her powers were dangerous, and so she was keeping them in, and then she realized that she could actually be herself, and and that was completely fine. So that lie. So or something like, a classic, It's a Wonderful Life. George believed that he had to get out of town to be successful, and everything was holding him back, and then there was the thought the world was better off without him. So again, the angel made him sure that no, that's the lie you believe. So, so how does that pertain to branding? Well, if you think there are lots of, if you look at products on the shelf, for example, in supermarket, the ones that are in the same category very often look the same. Whether it's sauces, whether it's yogurts, very often they will look the same. It's almost like you have to do it this way if you're in the market. Now, case in point is water, the water market. So you look, what does a typical water bottle look like?
Yeah. See-through plastic bottle, might look blue.
Alps, that's it.
White label-ish. Yeah.
So a great example of a company and a brand that's done it different is Liquid Death. And so we have Liquid Death here. And this is a great example of how looking at it different. So I know the approach they took, because the founder, I think a graphic designer in an advertising guy, didn't have a background in water or FMCG goods, other than perhaps products he'd worked on within his capacity as an ad guy and as a designer, and took the approach of looking for markets that were stale, where everyone just kind of did the same thing, and then that was the lie they believed. So the lie water believed is it has to be like, you could guess, is it has to look blue, it has to be this, that. Yeah. And so they've done something completely different. So if you look,
it's really interesting.
So Liquid Death is all about, well, as you said, you ready to murder your thirst? It's really,
should we do it?
There you go.
Cheers.
It's a warm day as well. So, but it's just water, right?
Yeah, I felt like I was going to drink an energy drink or a beer or something. Yeah. But I'm going to get another one of them.
For only, I think Liquid Death's only been around for a few years, but, I think the other day it was valued at 1.4 billion.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So, why...
Just for water?
Yeah. So, when it comes to looking at different and being the one that stands out. I mean, first of all, what do? Well, they put it in a can because of the eco. So in terms of spirit, eco-friendly. The aluminium apparently is more recyclable than plastic. I'm not a salesman for Liquid Death, by the way. It's just a really good example.
No. It is a really good example.
But also the branding. That's one of the probably the key point of difference is how different it looks and how it stands out on the shelf.
Yeah.
So they went, well, no, it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
The lie the market believes it has to look a certain way. We're going to do it completely different.
Yeah. Certainly different. Certainly a good example of a differentiation strategy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, genuinely, I haven't had a sip of this before the show, and as I was about to drink that, I genuinely thought that I was going to drink a beer or some sort of energy drink, but definitely not water. And
No.
it was the experience that I was having as I was drinking that as well, which is also a part of the strategy, I'd imagine, as well. Differentiating that experience as well.
Yes. So again, with Liquid Death, they could be perceived as the only water that you drink from a can, that you also enjoy because a big thing they do as well as the branding is the humor. They almost make fun of themselves and fun of the industry.
Yeah.
So it's part of culture. And they probably sell as loads of merch as well, I think. So
yeah, I can see that.
So that's one example of a product that didn't believe the lie and did it completely differently.
Yeah. So do you have any tips for the viewers in relation to trying to identify a differentiation component of their strategy?
Yeah, so here are just some tips. The first thing, and this is a really important one, is context. Right? It's in what is the context in which somebody might need this product, because context can change everything. So again, if we take the example of Liquid Death, one of the contexts that helped them was people in bars where everyone else is drinking might want to walk around with a can that looks like a beer can. Or also, I know they've got to deal with Live Nation at gigs. So again, you need to drink water at a gig, but again, you don't, you look like...
Yeah.
So people feel okay about drinking water maybe. So there's a context there.
Yeah.
The other thing, which again, just going outside of Liquid Death a minute, is... when you are speaking with clients and researching, is looking at what areas of the industry are overserved or underserved. So there'll be things that they have to care about that are underserved, and that's where the real point you can get some differentiation on is, what's lacking that people just aren't getting. Also, equally, where things are overserved, where it's like, we've got it and in abundance, you don't need to do it again. So again, that's another area where something is overserved. Also then, you can look at different ways in which you can amp up or strip back the product. So, amp up or look at how you can add things to it. So again, Liquid Death added loads of branding. Now, we talked before about how branding should help you charge a premium. Well, Liquid Death charges a premium, so a box of 4 cans was $5.50.
Wow.
Whereas I think for the same amount of water from Avian was £3, almost half the price for the same amount of liquid, essentially. So you are buying into the premium of
what it is,
what they've amped up in this case, which is the branding. Again, it can be something else that can be added in terms of the features and functions and benefits that get added to it to make it more of a premium product anyway. But likewise, you can strip it back, because like something like with Ryanair, for example, everything's stripped back, but that gives you your low-cost airline. So, again, it's different to perhaps British Airways then. So those are the things, is really look at the contexts in which people might need to use the product, or a context where it's underserved, ideally. Look at where something might be overserved and you don't need to do it. And then look at what you can add or take away to really kind of differentiate your product.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you did with us with Green & Co, in fairness, as part of our branding strategy. An area of the market that's underserved significantly is the fact that clients just don't get advice. And something we try to do is improve the lives of business owners. And that would be through business and tax advice. So it allowed us to differentiate from the market when the market is pretty noisy in compliance, and that's it.
No, exactly, absolutely.
Again, great, Matt. All of this is really good information for the viewers. So what's the fourth step in the plan?
So the fourth step, that's a bit of a tricky one. The fourth step is trend. Now, one of the things that can really supercharge your brand is if you can align with a trend. Okay? And what's really important about that is, especially for a small company, especially a startup or a small brand, is you want to kind of get like escape velocity. So if you start up and you suddenly have a good brand and you suddenly become quite popular, if you haven't got yourself out there quickly enough, then, you know, a bigger company could spot you, copy you, and just put more money into the advertising to become the most known in that area, and blow you out the water. So aligning with the trend can really supercharge a brand and take it beyond, if you like, perhaps the financial resources it has to put into promotion. So trends can really be helpful, but you have to be careful, because what you don't want to do is align with the wrong trend or a trend that just peters out.
Yeah, it's quite difficult, really, with social media, isn't it? You
Yeah.
put a lot of information out there on social media, but then how do you control it?
Exactly. And, you know, with social media, we talk about going viral or trending. If it's currently trending, it's probably too late on that one.
Okay.
You want to kind of think about more what I call, you know, macro and micro trends. And, you know, so macro trends being things like health and well-being. And then you got micro trends where people are like working from home a bit more. So they're kind of like smaller trends. So these are the kind of levels which you want to kind of look at. And a good brand with that case in point is someone like Peloton. So, you know, Peloton, where you...
Yeah.
So if you think of that macro trend, which is all about, you know, health and well-being, generally there's a big focus on that, you know, across many parts of this world. But also then, especially over lockdown, you know, people working from and since working from home.
Yeah, it became so popular, didn't it?
So Peloton really hit those trends where it, you know, it provided a real answer to people's issues. I think they could also add in there people not liking gyms or being a bit uncomfortable going to the gym.
Yeah.
Especially if suddenly taking their health and well-being seriously, but they're just starting off, they don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
So Peloton gives them almost the gym at home with the instructor and the whole community.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're really hitting a number of trends in one go. Now, again, they did suffer then when lockdown was, you know, we were really, and things that, you know,
and people wanted that physical connection again.
Yeah, but still, what they have done is innovated, and they've got a number of different products now. So they're still going strong, but you can see how trends can, you know, both be positive and negative. So yeah, and I think, how do you then pick your trend, right? So, you know, you are looking at things that are kind of more bigger concept. You're looking at things particularly, and this is really important, that align with that are authentic to you, that align with your values, culture, and focus. I think you can also, you know, have a brand or a business that's not a very high interest business. And what I mean by that is, you know, we're talking about some, you know, quite exciting brands. We're talking about Disney and Coke and Apple and things like that. And you can really kind of craft a nice brand image and differentiated brand story around that.
Yeah.
If you sell widgets, it can be a little bit more difficult. So you don't necessarily then want, you know, to find a trend that perhaps is quite highfalutin or that actually, you know, doesn't really fit with what you do. So you need to be kind of careful with that. But I think making sure that whatever it is true, is something that aligns with your values, and that what we call has legs, that it's something that you can see how that can, because it might be a bigger trend that's going on in the world, that's something that will continue over time. So, you know, if you are going to align your brand to it, and your brand is something you're going to invest in, and how you align with that trend would probably be something you'd invest in. You want to make sure that it's something that's going to last more than a year.
Yeah. So popularity and trying to forecast how popular something could possibly be.
Yeah, I think it's things that are more fundamentally human rather than something that's just a little bit trendy at the moment. Something that's just a very short-term gimmicky thing.
Yeah, that's some really good tips. So Matt, tell us about the fifth point in this strategy of yours.
Well, the fifth point, we need some action, don't we? So the fifth point is action.
Aptly named.
So now I'm going to give you probably, in answering this point, more one clear tip on what to do, because there would be a number of things within this, different ways in which you can implement it. But the action part is really, how do you start to implement the strategy that you've put together? So one of the things that we often do with clients at this stage is something called a journey map.
Okay.
Now, the good thing about a journey map is it can be as simple or complicated as you like. You do not need to be a brand expert, although it helps to have a brand expert helping you with it. But
Absolutely.
you don't need to be it. It's very much, if you understand your business, it's going through building a model of your business and going through it sequentially with different stages. Now, what we get people to do is you start off with looking at the customer needs at each stage. What do they need here? Do they need more of something, less of something? What are they trying to understand, be more capable of doing at each stage? What do they interact with? So, and this literally is going, what do they have to physically touch or do in order to, at this stage, in order to go to the next stage? So whether that's interact with a door, a person, whether it's looking at an internet page, whether it's an app, what do they have to do at this stage? Because this again then allows you to start looking for branding opportunities and for opportunities to put your brand strategy in each point right throughout the customer journey. So you go through that, you look at then what you need to do almost behind the scenes. So behind the scenes, okay, if the customer needs this and they're interacting with this and they need to do this, what do we need to do in order to make it happen? So again, you can look at the allocation of resources. If you want something to happen, can you resource it? If you can't, there's no, you can't do that. So what this will help you do then is what I call give you a kind of a minimum viable strategy. So it's almost like your baseline. So the whole idea with this is there's change. So if you're creating a new brand strategy or you're creating a brand strategy for a new company, there's almost got to be something different about it. You've got to make that change. So you need to then implement it to at least a level that delivers on that whole brand promise that we talked about.
Yeah.
And it needs to be at a level where not just you think, but where your customers are going, yes, I get it. That's exactly what I expect, whether it's to do with achieving goals or timeless storytelling or magical moments or bespoke jewelry, all about it's yes, that's what we expect. I now understand that's what this brand is delivering. That's the value to me. So by going through that customer journey and plotting through what your customers have to do to go through it and where you can look at opportunities for your branding, you've got to look at, okay, what is at least the minimum level we have to deliver in order that we can legitimately say, this is what we're about as a brand.
Yeah.
So again, that comes down then to some common sense stuff like looking at key activities, key resources, costs, and then you prioritize so you can at least deliver on the minimum that's going to make that brand work. You don't have to do the minimum, but you really need to
start.
Yeah, you can't go below that baseline. So in terms of where can your viewers and your clients start off at this point with brand strategy, one of the things we recommend is that kind of customer journey map. And again, it really is a tool for alignment, is making sure that everything kind of clicks together. There's like a golden thread of the brand that goes through. So you're looking at your customer journey through that filter of the brand that you've created. So if you're about excitement, what at this stage makes it exciting? if you're about care, what at this stage shows caring and, make sure people are okay. So, it's making sure there's a golden thread throughout that builds that customer journey, but also builds that brand experience. That at the end of it, people go, yeah, that's what that brand's about. That's why I'm paying more, because I'm getting all those extra things right the way through. But the customer journey model is never meant to be a perfect model. It's one where you do need to kind of roll your sleeves up and play and go through. So again, that's why, to a degree, anyone can go have a go at building it.
Yeah. So you are very looking through the whole steps. You are looking quite high level at the beginning and trying to encapsulate the purpose and the spirit of what you're trying to do. And then you're drilling down slowly and slowly up until this point of a customer journey, an actionable result of trying to test the waters and implement some of these procedure changes that basically encapsulate everything you just mentioned above.
Exactly. And each stage hopefully gives a level of clarity for each section. Now, again, with the stages, one of the things that, people can look at is doing this in we call an agile way. So it can work sequentially, where you go through them 1 to, like we've just gone through them 1 to 5.
Yeah.
But you can, with your team, do certainly the first 4 at the same time. Now, that might seem confusing to some people, but by doing it like that, it doesn't have the restrictions of what came before it.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that, it always will fit, but each one then can inform the other one rather than restrict it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So
it's a very fluid process.
So again, you could follow it sequentially, but you couldn't do those 4 things at the same time. And then once you've got your clear formula, your focus, how you're different, what trend you're going to follow, what the spirit, what we're fundamentally about. Once you've got all that joined together, then you can move into your customer journey mapping.
Yeah, nice. So Matt, that's great. Thanks very much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Really enjoyed it. We've been talking about it for a while, so it was nice to get it done.
Yeah, lots to unpack, but really, really good video. So thanks very much.
Not at all.
And thanks everyone for watching. If you want to know a little bit more about the content, please download the ebook below. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section as well. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.